And that brings me to the last building we will build in this series, and that is the Patron's Mansion. It doesn't do anything other than be awesome. It's all the way near the end of the technology tree, and just because I put down some other pretty buildings around it, and it's right now looking out over the sea, pretty awesome. And yeah, that concludes this series. I'm just going to flip it around so we have the viewpoint that we're used to during this entire series now. So there's still a few issues, mainly relating to oil. For some reason I can't get that to work, despite having a whole ton of sunflower fields now. 3 different oil factories that do seem to be producing, but I don't know what's going on with the oil. Honestly, don't really care at this point either, because we've built everything we can. Our population is actually pretty sizable as well. Let me see, where is it? There it is. We have over 1,000 people in our town now, and yeah, it's pretty much as far as you can take it in this game. I mean, of course you can take it much further, but that's just repeating something we've already done. The map doesn't really lend itself that easily for that either, which was kind of the point of taking a hard mode map, but yeah, at this point it's just more of the same. So I really do hope you enjoyed this playthrough. Yeah, it's a little bit of a shame the last episode got cut slightly shorter than intended, but yeah, I think it showed pretty good what elements there are to the game, how to kind of approach it, what's the fun things about the game, and maybe something less fun things about the game. I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content, and I will catch you in the next one. Hey HCDA, and welcome back to Patron. Now, I have a confession to make. This episode will be slightly different than the other ones because I lost about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 hours of footage, and I really do not feel like playing through all of that again. But to be honest, we've kind of showed what the game is about by now, and I'm just going to go run you through the things that I've built afterwards. And yeah, just taking a look at the technology tree. If you basically look at the last half of the technology tree, which starts from around, I think from around where we get the town hall, it's basically just getting a few more field items. You can really put up some things like, let me see, where are all the field crops? There you go. So things like garlic, onion, leek, etc. I think there's even one more after that over here. That's basically squash, pepper, and tomato. You don't actually do anything special with those items. You can just put them on your fields. And the same holds kind of for some of the other things you can unlock. For example, you can make your own money. You can build an university, which is basically a larger school, etc. So it's basically just doing more of the same and expanding. So yeah, I'm just going to show you the few things that I've done across the way, and then we can take a look at the really nice ending of this particular playthrough. Now, one of the first things I actually did was set up this industrial corner over here. We expanded the oil production by quite a bit, and even with 3 of these things, it's still not working like I wanted to, but at least it's a lot better. I was also running out of firewood at some point, so my people were actually starting to get cold. So I built quite a few sawmills. Now this is complete overkill, so I actually do not recommend you doing this. Really only build what you actually need, because that resulted in me getting completely flooded with firewood, and then in turn my stockpile got really full. As you can see, I have almost a full stockpile once again. And if we sort by quantity, you can see that firewood is the problem here. So actually one of the first things I will do after this is just turn down the production over here a little bit. We don't need 4 people in each of these sawmills. On the other hand, it's nice to have it on standby, but you do want to make sure that you're not kind of killing your production chains by not having anywhere to store things. And there's no way you can export fast enough unless you build like a couple of dozen harbors exporting the firewood. But to be honest, that's not really worth the effort because it doesn't sell for that much. Something else I needed to fix was tools. Tools are used by quite a few buildings, and I just simply wasn't producing enough. So adding a few toolsmiths was very useful. Again, it might be a little bit overkill, but honestly, even with a fully stocked toolsmith, as you can see, you're only producing 800, which is nothing compared to 5,000 per sawmill. So it's a little harder to go overboard with the tool production. Even if you do selling tools is actually not a bad thing because they sell for quite a hefty amount. Now, something else I did that I think is very interesting, I actually put up a specific agricultural kind of area over here. So we have one of those farm centers to buff all of that. It is, of course, on top of the fertile zone that we had, kind of to the north. It's somewhere in between our villages, so it's not in the worst position ever. And remember, because these storage units actually transport instantly between each other, we don't have people running up and down the entire island just to get here. That was only the case for the first thing I had to build here, and of course that was the warehouse. So if you make a little little separate town like I've done. So we have a church over here, a market, an inn, and a school to get some basic needs going. There's a well, there's a guardhouse for safety. If you do that, make sure you start with building your stockpile, your warehouse, because if you don't, you will have your workers running up and down your entire island with things like lumber and stone, etc., to build all of that stuff. We are now also able to upgrade our stone houses to not only 2-story houses, also brick mansions. You really have to zoom in to see the difference, honestly. As you can see, these are bricks, these are stones. And that allows 12 people to live in a single house. And you can see the food is all over the place, so they are pretty happy about that. And in general, our happiness is really good. Because as you can see, we're at 96%, loyalty being the main issue, and that's just triggered by random events. So, yeah. Education actually is also somewhat of an issue. Well, not an issue, but it's one of the lower items, and that has everything to do with the fact that we basically need more merchants and gentry, and in order to get those, we need to make sure we educate our people. It's a very slow process, so it's easy to have this fall down a little bit compared to your other stats. Something else I've done, and that kind of goes in the just because territory, I built guild houses for the peasants, the laborers, and the merchants. And there's actually one for the gentry as well, but it's later down the technology tree. What does that do? Well, it allows your peasants, or laborers, or merchants, depending on the class, to gather, and you get a little bit of coin for that. It doesn't seem to be producing too much. You can't actually see how much it produces anyway. I kind of like the touch of having a guild house. It's kind of like unionizing your employees. I just wish they'd done a little bit more with that, so there doesn't seem to be any mechanic or anything like that attached to that. So I was hoping to maybe set some policies for specific labor types, or getting demands from the people, whatever. But apparently that doesn't work like that at all so far. Another thing that goes in the just because type of thing, and by the way, is this guy running around in his pajamas with a Christmas hat on? Okay, anyway, gold mines. I built 3 of them, way overkill, honestly. As you can see, they're producing 1100 each, and to be honest, there's no way you can really process all of that gold. And you process the gold in a mint, which I have over here. And as you can see, we're basically smelting the gold into coins. Not that we had any issue with coins whatsoever. As you can see, I have 600,000 coins at the moment. But yeah, you can and will use that in order to make some coin. You can expand this, of course, just like most of the other buildings. Even if you do, you're only going to have enough people for rounds. I think 200-300. You will get a huge amount of coins. But not entirely sure what you're going to use those for, because at this stage of the game it seems to be just more of everything type of gameplay, and honestly there's not much to that. But if just seeing big numbers is what you like, then that's definitely a thing you can do. And then finally we conclude with building this awesome looking building, which is the Patron's Mansion. It doesn't do anything other than give you bragging rights that you actually completed the game. And, well, I just went out of my way to actually use some of the beautify things in order to make it look pretty. It's also looking out over the water, sort of. Yeah. And it's kind of to the side, so we don't want to live in the middle of our bustling city. No, we want to have a good view on a beautiful seaside. I also built down the last guild house for the gentry, and a few other things like university, which is basically just a very expensive and large school. It will be able to actually put in a lot of students. Like you can see, 44 of the 80 slots total are being used at the moment. But the real challenge is to actually get enough oil products at this stage of the game. For some reason, with all of this production up and running, the oil was staying a problem. Although nothing that really broke the game or anything like that. But yeah, apparently that is a thing. Now we also have an embassy that increases loyalty. I have no idea why you would need this at this point of the game. I mean, if you have any issues with loyalty, then you wouldn't make it this far. And it's really far down the end of the technology tree. So generally speaking, where is it? Embassy, over here. It's like one of the last few things you actually research. I'm not entirely sure the last, final part of the end game was really thought out by the developers. It seems to be a little random. For example, you can increase the immigration. Well, that makes sense, I guess, at the end of the tree in order to kind of boost your immigration and thereby the amount of people you have walking around in your town. But all in all, I think it would have been nice to have similar things earlier down the tree. There's also the large warehouse over here. Like I said, it should have been, I think, earlier down the technology tree. But, oh wait, it works. To be honest, I wasn't the quickest in terms of researching everything. So you should probably just make sure you keep researching everything. Being able to actually queue up research items would have been useful as well, but okay. I don't want to end this episode or this series with too much complaints. I do think it's a very nice, interesting game, but mostly the early to mid game is what appealed to me. The end game, not as much. Although it does feel very nice to end your game when you start out with like a handful of settlers. We're over 1,000 people now, so we definitely were able to really grow our city. You can see it's starting to look like a real town. And I mean, this is not even all of it. We have this colony over here. We have the farming colony over here. So all in all, it is very nice looking. Now that brings me back to the Patron Village Mansion over here. I really hope you guys enjoyed this playthrough. Let me know in the comments if there's any specific games you would like me to showcase on the channel. I will be changing the type of content on the channel slightly. Although it might be subtle, so you might not even notice. Let me know if you do. But anyway, I am really enjoying this, and I will hope I catch you in the next one.